I'm positioned on scorched wooden planks as sunrise breaks, observing the remains of my late father's vessel, the craft he'd dedicated 36 months to refurbishing before illness claimed him. What remains is a carbonized shell, the central pole fractured completely, sagging toward the water like a shattered backbone. The composite material warped into disturbing formations. Wisps of smoke still rise. The odor arrives initially, petroleum mixed with incinerated synthetic compounds, acrid and unnatural. Shattered tempered glass grinds beneath my work boots. Overhead songbirds continue their morning chorus as though nothing occurred. They incinerated it because I refused submission to our neighborhood association's autocrat. They believed it would shatter my resolve. Greatest miscalculation they could have made. My response exceeded mere reconstruction. I immobilized their financial resources, revealed their financial crimes, ensured their chairwoman faced imprisonment, and demolished their entire corrupted apparatus. Before proceeding, share your thoughts. What would your response be if your neighborhood association obliterated something irreplaceable? Pursue legal action, relocate, or pursue total warfare? From where are you viewing? How many among you currently exist under association governance? My identity is Marcus Holloway. I've reached 54 years, previously served with Maritime Rescue Services for 28 years conducting emergency operations along the Carolina shoreline. Received 2 official recognitions, experienced more near disasters than I prefer recalling. Retrieved a youth from an overturned yacht during a severe northeastern storm in early 2003. Experiencing severe hypothermia without respiration. We achieved revival. Such experiences remain permanently with you. I concluded service at 52, acquired this lakeside property at Silverton Lake using my inherited funds, a modest dwelling, nothing extravagant, though it featured a private pier and scenery that erased worldly concerns. The vessel, the Endless Horizon, belonged to my late father, a 1987 Morgan Islander 41. Elegant construction, hardwood decking, carried the scent of protective coating and maritime decades. Even transplanted to the lake, she required attention when he departed 5 years prior. Aggressive cancer. He couldn't complete her restoration, so I assumed that responsibility. Required 36 months. Hand sanded every surface of that structure. My hands retained the sensation of coarse abrasive paper and the aroma of wood treatment oil during early mornings. Replaced all rigging components, reconstructed the propulsion system. It served as therapeutic practice superior to any psychological counseling. I'd dedicate entire days to her restoration, then retreat to my workshop for evening carpentry endeavors. Constructed shelving for my daughter, several outdoor seating pieces maintained manual occupation. My marriage dissolved. Nothing catastrophic, simply grew distant. My daughter Bethany has reached 29, practices architecture in Raleigh. We maintain closeness. She arrives monthly and we function well. No lingering complications. During weekends, I provided complimentary sailing instruction to neighborhood youth because my father taught me identically. You perpetuate the tradition. Existence was uncomplicated, peaceful. Precisely what I desired following 3 decades of emergency response and administrative procedures. Then Marlene Ashford entered my life. Marlene is 61, chairwoman of the Sapphire Waters Property Owners Association, has maintained that position for 11 years. Styled blonde hair that remains motionless in wind conditions. Premium athletic leisure garments probably exceeding my vehicle payment. This mannerism of angling her head and displaying a smile that never reaches her eyes when preparing to devastate your day. Additionally, she operates a white luxury crossover with personalized registration reading, Lakelf. Precisely that personality type. Sapphire Waters encompasses 340 residential properties surrounding Silverton Lake. Semi-restricted access. Monthly assessments total $320. My land predates the association's establishment in 2003, creating grandfather status, though I remain bound by shared facility regulations, whatever that signifies. Marlene's interpretation fluctuates depending on her opinion of you. Advance notice. She disapproved of me. Her authority structure is impenetrable. Her sibling Patricia handles finances. Someone named Roland, who operates a climate control business, serves as deputy chair. The remaining board members are social club associates who authorize whatever she desires. The association controls a $1.8 million yearly budget, substantial funding for lawn maintenance and facility rentals. Marlene's standing, discriminatory rule application, is her expertise. She'll cite your work vehicle for overnight driveway presence while her son's modified off-road vehicle with aggressive exhaust. Completely acceptable. She enforces architectural uniformity. Every residence must display beige, tan, or gray coloring. She prohibited unauthorized landscaping, apparently encompassing food gardens and anything besides sculpted shrubbery. Residents feared her, and I remained indifferent because I maintained privacy until she determined my pier was problematic. 6 months preceding the fire, I received official documentation. Marlene claimed my private pier extended 2 feet into the association-regulated navigation corridor. She demanded I reduce its length by springtime or remit a $5,000 penalty. I retained a surveying professional. Expenditure $800. Findings: my pier resided entirely within my documented waterfront property. The association's diagram was obsolete from 1998, preceding property boundary modifications. I possess documentation, permits from 1995, comprehensive evidence. I submitted the proof at a monthly board assembly. Marlene occupied the head position under unstable overhead lighting, the space carrying burnt coffee and disinfectant odors. She barely examined my materials, simply tapped her president's mallet, one hollow sound, and stated, "The board shall examine this." They never conducted any review. Instead, the retaliation commenced. Recovery vehicles summoned to my truck twice despite legal parking. Unidentified complaints filed with county officials regarding unpermitted constructions. Subtle hostile remarks during neighborhood social events. Certain individuals believe regulations don't concern them. Then during the Independence Day gathering, I overheard her conversing with a property developer associate near the barbecue area. I was obtaining grilled meat when her voice projected over the entertainment. Once I eliminate that unsightly pier, the property's value doubles for demolition and reconstruction. She referenced my land. That moment revealed Marlene didn't desire compliance. She desired my departure. August arrived intensely humid, weather where atmospheric conditions feel like respiring through saturated cloth. I'd just returned from an extended weekend visiting Bethany and Raleigh. We'd attended some farm-sourced restaurant she favored. Spent Sunday morning at agricultural markets. Pleasant visit. I felt relaxed. That sensation persisted approximately 30 seconds after arriving home. I proceeded down to the pier to inspect the endless horizon, and my stomach constricted. Someone had aerosol painted the hull. Crude letters dripping in fluorescent orange. Welfare sailor on the port surface. Go home on starboard. The paint remained tacky, recent, perhaps 6, 7 hours aged. I stood there, the pier groaning beneath my weight, the spray paint scent mixing with the lake's organic odors, and I experienced this frigid anger establish itself within my chest. Not the heated variety that produces reckless actions, the cold variety that makes you systematic. I contacted the sheriff's office. Officer Dawson arrived 40 minutes afterward. Capable person, former Marine. We'd shared beverages occasionally at the Veterans Organization. He captured photographs, completed an incident report, but his expression conveyed everything. No witnesses, no surveillance equipment. Marcus, I'm regretful. Could have been juveniles. Juveniles don't possess the access codes to enter the marina section, Thomas. He observed me for an extended moment. You're considering association involvement. I'm considering someone desires my departure. He acknowledged slowly, secured his notepad. Maintain caution and install surveillance cameras, then quieter, and perhaps secure legal representation. Confidentially, I've witnessed association boards execute worse than vandalism when they want someone eliminated. That identical afternoon, the association distributed an electronic message to all 340 residences. Subject heading: Reminder, Community Standards for Watercraft. The message was pure Marlene. Subtle, hostile legal terminology about how unattractive vessels must satisfy appearance standards, and how violators would experience progressive penalties until compliance achieved. She didn't specify my identity. Unnecessary. Everyone understood. I occupied my kitchen table that evening, observing the orange paint still visible through my window, and contemplated my alternatives. I could remove it and feign it didn't occur. I could liquidate and depart. Or I could implement what my father taught me in maritime rescue. When someone attempts to sink you, you don't drain water. You locate the breach in their hull. I recalled something from my divorce proceedings. My attorney explaining how public documentation requests function. Governmental bodies, associations, even certain nonprofits must reveal financial materials if you request correctly. It's designated sunshine legislation in North Carolina. Most individuals lack awareness. Most association boards hope you lack awareness. I registered an internet domain that evening, SapphireWatersAccountability.com. Cost $12, created a basic website. Nothing elaborate. Simply clean presentation and a purpose declaration. Transparency and equity for all Sapphire Waters property owners. Then I commenced operations. Initial publication. Scanned duplicate of the surveyor's analysis showing my peer was completely within my property boundaries. I composed a brief summary in accessible language. No legal terminology, exclusively facts. The association alleged my peer violated setback regulations. An independent surveyor proved otherwise. The board refused acknowledging the evidence. Second publication. Photographs. Marlene's son's modified vehicle parked in their driveway, blatantly violating the oversized vehicle regulation that she'd utilized to penalize at least 12 other property owners. I didn't editorialize, simply published the regulation text adjacent to the photograph. Allowed people to form their own determinations. Third publication, and this one made my hands tremble when I uploaded it. I'd submitted that public documentation request with the county 2 weeks earlier, immediately after the peer controversy started. Required some experimental phrasing, but the county administrator finally transmitted a packet of agreements between the association and local enterprises, buried within $47,000 across 18 months paid to Ashford Property, consulting for management advisory services. Ashford, as in Marlene Ashford, her own brokerage billing the association at $340 per hour, while simultaneously collecting a monthly allowance as chairwoman. Double extraction from the identical fund we were all contributing toward. I published the invoices, all of them. My cursor hovered over the publish control for a complete minute. This was the irreversible threshold. Once this became active, Marlene would pursue me with everything available. I contemplated my father's vessel covered in spray paint. I clicked publish. By Thursday morning, the website had been distributed 2,300 times across regional social media platforms. My electronic mailbox contained 64 communications, some expressing gratitude, some requesting information, 3 informing me I was foolish. Individuals were furious. Comment discussions ignited. Someone created a satirical image of Marlene's luxury vehicle registration with the caption, "Appropriating your finances." I laughed so intensely I nearly choked on my morning coffee. Marlene convened an urgent board assembly, closed session naturally. But Patricia, her own sibling, the financial officer, exited the community facility appearing ashen and unstable. I happened to be passing by. She wouldn't establish visual contact. Friday afternoon, I received certified correspondence from the Westbrook Legal Group. Substantial envelope, premium letterhead. The paper so weighted it felt like manuscript material. Cease and desist demand. Remove the website within 72 hours or confront a defamation lawsuit. The letter referenced false and malicious accusations causing irreparable damage to Mrs. Ashford's standing and commercial interests. I reviewed it twice. Then I smiled because here's the reality about defamation that I'd learned during my marriage dissolution. Truth constitutes an absolute defense. You cannot face legal action for declaring truth, regardless how severely it damages someone's standing, and I possessed documentation for everything. I scanned the correspondence, published it to the website with a new entry titled, "They're threatening legal action for truth-telling." Then I composed a response on standard paper, printed it, and transmitted it via certified mail. Dear Westbrook Legal Group, I anticipate the discovery process. Bring adequate funding. Respectfully, Marcus Holloway. That weekend, Marlene appeared at the neighborhood wine reception at the clubhouse. I wasn't present. Rosa Martinez contacted me afterward, laughing so intensely she could barely communicate. Rosa operates a landscaping enterprise, resides 3 blocks away, and Marlene had penalized her $2,000 last spring for unapproved hedge elevation. We'd commiserated over beverages once. She'd been monitoring the website religiously. Marcus, you should have witnessed her, Rosa stated. She consumed approximately 4 glasses of white wine and began shouting. Said you were dangerous. Said someone must teach you a lesson. She verbalized that publicly. Half the gathering heard it. Jennifer Chen recorded it on her device. I'll transmit the file. I preserved that audio recording in 3 locations. Monday morning, I installed 2 4K surveillance cameras on my pier. Cloud storage, motion notifications sent directly to my device. Expenditure, $400, worth every cent. Marlene drove past that evening in her white luxury crossover, decelerated to a crawl, observed the cameras for a solid 10 seconds, her face visible through the windshield, lips compressed into a narrow line, jaw tense. Then she accelerated aggressively, tires screeching on the pavement like an adolescent displaying a tantrum. I reviewed the footage later that night, the blue illumination of my laptop screen reflecting off my kitchen window. You could observe her knuckles whitened on the steering mechanism. She was orchestrating something. I could sense it the way you sense a storm approaching from the ocean. Pressure decline, wind modification, that electric sensation in the atmosphere before the initial lightning strike. I simply didn't comprehend how catastrophic it would become. September arrived with cooler mornings and the initial indication of autumn pigments on the trees surrounding the lake. I was smoothing down a coffee table in my workshop, one of those automatic carpentry projects that allows your mind to process in the background when the process server appeared. Young individual, couldn't have exceeded 25, appeared apologetic as he handed me the envelope. Regretful, sir. Simply performing my duties. I understand, appreciated. I waited until his departure before I unsealed. At lawsuit, the association was pursuing me for $50,000 in reputational damages plus an injunction to terminate the website. The complaint was 32 pages of legal verbosity, but the essence was straightforward. Marlene desired me silenced and she was prepared to bankrupt me to accomplish it. The Westbrook Legal Group, identical law firm from the cease and desist, was representing the association, probably billing $450 per hour, directly from our assessment funds. The irony wasn't overlooked. They proposed mediation 2 weeks afterward. I appeared at their downtown office, all glass and steel and uncomfortable modernist furniture, and occupied a position across from some polished attorney who appeared like he acquired his suits in Manhattan, and his personality from corporate training. Seminars. Mr. Holloway, he stated, sliding a document across the table. My clients are prepared to be reasonable. Remove the website, remit $10,000 to cover legal expenses, sign a confidentiality agreement, and this all disappears. I observed the document, observed him. No, I'm regretful. No, I'll observe you in court. His smile wavered. Mr. Holloway, you cannot prevail. We have substantially more resources than you possess. Litigation is expensive. We can prolong this for years, I stood. Then I suppose you better get comfortable because I'm not signing anything, I'm not paying anything, and I'm not remaining silent. I departed feeling equally parts terrified and exhilarated. I couldn't afford legal representation. I'd be representing myself, which meant I needed to become very proficient at association law very rapidly. I spent the subsequent 3 weeks existing in the public library and online legal databases. North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 47F, the Planned Community Act, Robert's Rules of Order, bylaws, covenants, fiduciary duty standards. It was dense, tedious as hell, but I'm maritime rescue. We don't surrender simply because something's challenging, and that's when I discovered the initial crack in Marlene's armor. I was cross-referencing the association's bylaws, published on their website, ironically, with the assembly minutes from the previous 3 years. The bylaws were explicit. The board had to conduct elections annually with nominations accessible to all property owners in satisfactory standing. Voting had to be executed by secret ballot at a general assembly with at least 30 days notification. The assembly minutes revealed a different narrative. For the previous 3 years, there hadn't been any authentic elections. Marlene's re-election votes originated from proxy ballots, pre-completed forms that she'd collected door to door where property owners simply signed their identity and trusted her to vote on their behalf. I recalled her executing it, actually. She'd knocked on my entrance 2 years ago with a clipboard, all smiles, stating it was simply a formality to save everyone time, except according to North Carolina Statute 47F 3108, proxy voting for board elections is illegal, unless the proxy specifically identifies the candidate being voted for. Marlene's proxies were blank. She could have inscribed anyone. She could have inscribed her pet. Her entire board was illegitimate. I reclined in the library chair, the fluorescent lights humming above me, and felt that cold satisfaction establish itself again. This wasn't simply about my peer anymore. This was about dismantling a dictatorship. I composed a recall petition that night. According to the bylaws, I needed signatures from 20% of property owners, 68 individuals, to force a special election. I printed 200 duplicates and started going door to door the subsequent evening after dinner. It was more challenging than I anticipated. Individuals were frightened. I'd knock, explain the situation, and observe them glance nervously over my shoulder like Marlene might be observing from the vegetation. "I cannot, Marcus. She'll penalize me. I'm regretful. I simply want to stay uninvolved. My spouse doesn't desire any complications. I obtained 14 signatures the initial week. I was starting to think I'd miscalculated. Then Rosa appeared at my entrance on a Saturday morning with a